Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Vipul, and in this video we're going to talk about this bug-eyed hooligan, the Triumph Street Triple RS. So Triumph has updated this new Triple RS, and we're going to tell you what's new and what this Street King has to offer. Now Triumph has updated the Street Triple RS, and though the changes are not in terms of the mechanics, the engine, the power and everything remains the same. The cycle parts, the chassis, there's nothing different in it. What has changed, however, is some aesthetics of the bike have been changed, and the electronics of the bike are now much better than before. So it offers more kit than earlier. Talking about the designs, up front you get the same bug-eyed headlamps, but these now are a little bit rounded off. You get the LED DRL on the brows of the bike, which looks really nice, and you get a new and updated fly screen. Now this fly screen is not much of use when you're riding at higher speeds, because if you're riding over 110 kmph, you are going to get a lot of buffeting. So that's the nature of the street bikes, so you can't do much about that unless you decide to attach an extended fly screen. You also get new handlebars and these new bar end mirrors. They offer a good view of the road because they are nice and wide. Besides that, all the changes that are there are on these design elements that you see here. Like you have this neon green and silver paint job all over the bike. Besides that, there are not a lot of design changes here. In terms of the engine, this is a 765cc inline 3 engine which produces 121 bhp of peak power at 11,750 rpm, and it produces 79 newton meters of torque, which is 9 meters higher than the outgoing bike, and that comes up at 9,350 rpm. So in terms of riding dynamics, what this engine does is that it gives you better power. It is a very refined engine. It's simply buttery smooth, and when you're riding even in the city, you will not get any knocking effect. So that's the beauty of this engine. Even if you are on on the third gear, you can pick up the bike from a stop. So even if you're halted at a signal, say in the third gear, you don't need to shift down to the first gear. While we won't recommend that, but even on the third gear, you can get a move on. Talking about in-gear speeds in city, when we were testing the bike, we were really surprised to see that it could go as low as 50 kilometers per hour on the sixth gear. And there was no knocking whatsoever. The bike was very comfortable, and if you want a move on, just twist the throttle and the bike will pick up speed. Now, while in the city, the bike is usually ambling around 3,500 rpm, and it will not have any knocking effect even on the sixth gear. As you build up the revs, the power starts kicking in, and the meat of the power, so the power band is between 4,000 to 10,000 rpm, and you can go up to 12,000 rpm, which is its red line. Not only that, the bike sounds sweet. So I'm just going to fire up the engine right now and show you how it sounds. So that's the exhaust note for you. It's a sweet and bassy tone. While the bike is not a looker, so it's not going to turn a lot of eyeballs because of its mellow design. But however, when people hear the sound of this exhaust, they want to see what's coming from behind or what bike just passed them. So all in all, the design, it's not very attractive. It's not a very attractive bike to look at. So it is up to your taste if you like this design. However, on the streets, it will not turn a lot of eyeballs just by looking at the bike. Yes, when they hear the sound, when they listen to the exhaust note, you are going to turn heads. Now the bike is riding on 17-inch alloys, and up front you get 120 by 70 section front tire, and that is a Diablo Super Corsa. And on the rear as well, you get the same tire, but it is a 180 by 55 section tire. So the rubber on this bike is of exceptional quality. You are going to love the bike in the corners. They offer very good amount of grip, and when you're tucking in into the corners, you're going to have enough confidence that the tires will not give away, and you can easily tuck into the corner and fly out of it with higher speeds. Now, when you're moving at higher speeds, you also need to be sure that you are going to come to a stop when you drop the anchors. And to help do that, you get 320 mm 4-piston caliper disc brakes up front, and these are twin discs. And you get a 220 mm single piston caliper disc brake at the rear. These brakes are awesome. The front brakes have a very good initial bite, and the rear brakes will help you come to a complete halt very fast. Now let's talk about the suspension of the bike. Now, while riding in the city, you will find this stock setting of the suspension very stiff. Even the smallest of undulations are going to be felt on the handlebars as well as on your behind. And if you ride with this suspension setup on rough roads, you are going to have a major back problem. However, the suspension is fully adjustable. You can get the setting that suits you the best whenever you head out for the ride. We would definitely recommend to not use the bike in the cities at the stock suspension. You adjust it to a lower setting so that you get a softer suspension. However, this suspension setup works for the highways. When you're cruising along the highways, this suspension works the best because you simply float on the road, and nothing can be felt if you are riding at higher speeds. Now, also in terms of riding comfort, you get a very light clutch. The clutch action is very light, and your fingers would not be strained after a long ride. You also get dual action slipper clutch assist, which is really good while you're making those fast shifts, up and down shifts on the track. In the city and on the highways, it's not very useful, but on the track, if you like track riding, that definitely helps a lot. Now, since this is a triple RS, you will get the top of the line Showa 41 mm USD front suspension. This has adjustable compression rebound damping, and at the rear you get the Ohlins STX40 with fully adjustable piggyback reservoir. Talking about the dimensions, the bike is 2065 mm long, 775 mm wide, and has a height of 1085 mm. The wheelbase is 1405 mm, and the ground clearance is 165 mm. Talking about the ground clearance, you also get this new designed belly pan, which also gives the engine some kind of protection. Also, the seat height of the bike is 825 mm, and as you can see, both my feet are flat on the ground, so getting the right seating position for you will be really good. And if you see the rider's triangle, this is a perfect seating position for a street naked bike. My height for reference is 5'9", and anyone who is up to the height of 5'5", 5'6" should be able to ride the bike very comfortably. Also, talking about the seat, you get a very comfortable cushioning here. You have a nice texture to this seat, and it is pretty wide right here, so it gives you enough space to scoot around while you're cornering, which is typically what this bike is meant for. Also, this is not a very comfortable seat for pillion riders. As you can see, it's very narrow. There is no width to it, although there are these grab rails to hold on to, but these are not at all comfortable for longer journeys. Now, speaking about longer journeys, you need a good amount of range to cover that long distances, and mileage is not the best friend of this bike because it is a 765cc. It's a powerful motor that generates a lot of power and torque from lower RPMs itself, which is why the mileage of this bike is not very good. As claimed by Triumph, you can get up to 19.2 kmpl, but in our testing in the cities, it was giving around 12 to 13 kmpl, on the highways between 16 and 17. So overall, the average of this bike is close to 14 or 15 kmpl. and not more. And you get a 17.4 liter fuel tank, which has a reserve capacity of 4.5 liters. So the range should be about 240 to 250 kilometers, which is not a good enough range. You'll have to make a lot of fuel stops while riding on longer journeys. And if you are an endurance rider, it is going to be really annoying for you to make those fuel stops. Well, long riding is not what this bike is made for. It is made for the track, and it surely will shine on a track setting. And talking about track settings, let's get to the modes that are available on this bike. Now, there is the sport mode which is available, which you can use in riding on the roads. Then there is the track mode, which is specifically for the track. Then there is the rider configurable mode. So this is a custom mode which you can configure on your own. Rain mode, in which the ABS becomes more sensitive. The power delivery is pulled down a little. And finally, you have the road mode, which you can use for highway cruising and city riding. Now, talking about the display now, even though it is a large TFT display with color screen, it does not give a lot of information. Now, you do get a fuel indicator, you get the gear position indicator, the mode that you're riding in, and you also get the tachometers on the side. There is also a RPM readout right here. This is the engine temperature. You will see the distance to empty right here, and you have all these telltale lights. You also get Bluetooth connectivity on this bike, wherein you will get call information right here. So you can see on your screen who is calling you, and you can answer the calls with your helmet Bluetooth system. Besides that, you can also get turn-by-turn navigation, and you can also connect your GoPro, and it will show the status of your GoPro when it's recording and not recording. You can also get information of your music when you are playing music through your helmet audio system, and you can change the track from here as well. So to conclude, we can safely say that this is no doubt the king of the streets, and it is one of the most sought after street naked bikes, and there is a good reason for that, because the bike is really that good. And if you're in the market looking for a street naked, which is something that you can use in the city as a daily rider, yes, you can definitely use this bike for your office commutes. Apart from that, when you want to take the bike to the tracks, you can definitely use this. Not recommended for long highway journeys. If your journey is about 200-300 kilometers, it should be fine. Other than that, we would not recommend you taking this bike on a very long ride. Besides that, the price of this motorcycle is 11.67 lakhs ex showroom Delhi. And while it is on the higher side, if you are on a tighter budget, you can go for the Street Triple R, which would not give you the Super Corsa tires and the Showa suspension. But other than that, the engine and the power and all the other kit that it gets would be the same as the Street Triple RS. So that bike is priced a little lower. Besides that, you can also check out the Ducati Monster and the Kawasaki Z900, which is at a much lower price point. That being said, we would highly recommend that you test ride this motorcycle before you make your purchase decision, because it is going to put a smile on your face when you ride it. The engine is very refined. There are no vibrations on the pegs, on the handlebar, or on the seat. Even above 8,000, 9,000 RPM, you will feel no vibrations at all. So it is a very refined engine, and for that we would definitely recommend this bike. So that's all we have for you about the Street Triple RS. Let us know what you think of the bike. If you like the video, hit the like button. Subscribe to Motoroids if you haven't already. This is Vipul signing off. I will see you in the next video. Until then, rev hard, rev free, and ride safe.